Welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on a Friday here in Melbourne. Of course, let's turn our attention to junior footy, and of course, it's been with the Park Orchards Junior Footy Club, and of course, we've got one of the captains of course, they had three club captains this year. Of course, one of them joins us right now. Of course, his name is Jack. Thanks, Jack, for joining us.
That's all good, Will. It's good to be here. It's good to talk about the club today.
No worries. Well, firstly, tell us, how did your team's season go in 2023?
To be fair on us, we had a couple of struggles throughout the year, just with numbers specifically. But no, we pushed through. We had some up and downs. We didn't get into finals, though. It's all good. That's my under-18 side there.
So it was a difficult year, and I know I actually have heard that obviously with the injuries and numbers and all that you've had throughout this season. Has there been any positives or that came out of the year, or any learnings that came out of this season?
Definitely, as a team, we got a lot stronger together because with trainings, we merged our two teams together, and the boys really got along because we're big on just having a go as well. So we encourage anyone to get down. We had about 3 new players this season who hadn't played in a long time, or one kid, it was his first season actually ever playing footy. And no, there was a lot of highlights just out of, we learned a lot about each other and how if we keep progressing throughout the year, we can actually achieve a lot, which we did. We got a couple of wins on the board in the end after going 9 weeks of straight losing. We actually managed to pull ourselves back up a bit, and we got up there sometimes.
Is there one particular game that was more sweeter than the others in your wins this year?
There was definitely one. It was after the 9 weeks of straight losing, we had 3 games where we actually won all of them in a row, and it was big for our team. And the forthcoming week, we were versing the top team, Fitzroy, and it was really huge for us because we were on a massive winning streak, and they sort of slowed down a little bit in the season, and it was just going to be a massive competition for us. But through all 4 quarters, it was really left and right, and we managed to get on top, and we actually won the game, even with less numbers. And I remember the best thing out of that was when the opposition coach came over to our coach, and he fully shook his hand in just out of admiration, honestly, and said congratulations to us because we had so little amount of numbers that game. I think we had 15 players or something. We had to request for them to play with only 15 as well, and they had many on the bench, but we just put up a massive fight and we got on top in the end. That was just the best game for us.
Having less numbers, especially on that game in particular, did it work in your favour regarding to you had to rely on each other more than if you had a full team?
It goes both ways, actually. But no, we never really relied on anyone specifically. You know, we all counted on each other to make big plays because each of us had a game where we all played just above everyone else, and so we believed in each other that we could each do that every week. And in times when it really mattered, we all stood up together, just like in that game before. So I guess you're right a little bit.
Did you lose any players to the talent league competition this year?
No, unfortunately we didn't. We've got a couple strong players, but no one broke through, but they're all still developing. We're all pretty young. We're all first level under 18s we're all 16, 17 turning. So no, there's plenty of time to get there.
But you've been named captain, or one of 3 club captains, obviously 2 boys, 1 girl as club captains. What did that mean to you to be named one of them with your 2 fellow club captains?
Yeah, well, Jake, Ava, and I, we got a call up after requesting to be a club captain at the start of the year, and we had a lady named Kate who then talked to us about what we would try to be as a club captain and how we would help the club out. And when we all got the news that we were all club captains, it meant a lot to us because everyone at Park Orchards is just great with their community and getting together. So it was good support from everyone, and knowing that I got to lead this club and all the great things that it has behind it and help out the club push further, it was just great to be in, honestly.
I know it's Ava's second year of being club captain. Did she teach either yourself or Jake any tips on how to go about, considering she was in your situation the year before?
Yeah, she'd been through most things that Jake and I were just about to go through. So yeah, she really helped us out. That's what I'm saying with the community. Like everyone supports each other. And she really helped us, and she talked to us a bit about a couple of things when we weren't sure what was about to happen next. And it was good help. It was just all about getting around each other, and she helped a lot.
Tell us a bit about Jake.
Jake's a great player. He's really energetic as well. He's a real nice kid when you meet him, and he's always managing to put a smile on someone's face because he's just so energetic and all that. And yeah, he's a great guy to be around. It's good to have him as a captain.
Any highlights for you being club captain this year, and especially to any events that yourself, Jake, and Ava did combined?
Yes, we had a special night for the club where all the junior players would get to have an ex-AFL player come in. He was Nathan Buckley actually, and yeah, it was great actually. It was really exciting to have him there, and you should have seen it honestly when he opened up and got out of his car. You should have seen the amount of kids that came over to him because he's like a hero to everyone, and because he's so tall and all the kids are so small, you could just see him above everyone else. He looked like a god coming through, and I remember that night actually, the three of us were all there, and all these kids were sitting around asking Nathan Buckley questions the entire night, sharing his stories, what he learnt about as a player, and how he's developed throughout the years from a junior to a senior to all the way to AFL. It was that was the best night, honestly, of the season.
Did you ask any questions to him, especially obviously because Nathan Buckley was a captain in his own right at AFL level for Collingwood? Did you or Ava or Jake ask any questions about how to go maybe furthering, especially having that leadership role and that bigger responsibility?
Yeah, he actually talked about it himself, and he talked about how when he was younger he moved around a lot when he was a kid. Like I think he went to about 6 schools just in high school itself, and he talked about how he had to learn to be able to have good communication with everyone, and he wasn't able to keep in a friend group for a certain amount of time because he had to move to the next place just because of his parents working, I believe. So what I got out of that, and what is good to learn about, was that he learned how to properly communicate with people, and how one day that can really help when you have a big talk with someone or a big interview. You've got to know how to present yourself, and he learnt that just through going around everywhere.
As you mentioned, I think bottom age 18s, you currently?
Yeah.
Yep. Hopefully you'd be having an opportunity to go and obviously do it again next year. Anything that you've learned from this year to do it next year, if you have it, obviously if you get elected again as club captain in 2024?
I believe that implementing community sort of events onto the club can be great. Like we had the push-up challenge this year, which was good. We had footage of all the seniors players doing push-ups together just in the middle of June, and that was great to see. So maybe a couple more community involving events, and even the Nathan Buckley was a great one as well. So even more events where everyone can get together, ask questions, learn, and all that.
Talk a bit about your footy journey. Where did it all start and why did you choose it? And then the second part of that question is, what does the sport of footy mean to you now, especially playing for the Sharks?
As a young player, I was in love with Hawthorn. That's been my club.
Choice.
Yeah, it's a good choice. Rough right now, but boy, when I was like 7 years old, it was the greatest time to be alive.
Right.
And yeah, with seeing everything winning, and I looked at all these young players when I was young, like Luke Bruce, Sil Rioli, and Buddy Franklin. They were the big names for me, and watching them play really inspired me and made me want to go around and try banana kicks, and learn how to kick torps. And that's when I joined up to Auskick in about 2010. I was only 4 years old, and I remember going there in my little Hawthorn kit, and it was about 4 degrees on this muddy, soggy pitch, But it was just great fun to be around because there was all these kids my age, and I've grown up with all of them throughout the years. I went to primary school with them, and we did everything together. And that's when I got old enough, I joined an under-8s team and started playing with them. And it's just kept going throughout the year. And park orchards have meant a lot because with everyone who lives around it, it's sort of isolated from everywhere else. So if you
Right.
play for park orchards, you basically live there and everyone gets to know you pretty quickly. And you see all these faces so often, and it's just great to be around because you feel like you're at home basically.
You mentioned about the community field, and obviously I've driven past Park Orchards and been to Germany Reserve, and it is a very community field. It feels like you're in the country, even though you're not actually that far from the city, like you're not that far from Ringwood, which is obviously 5 minutes down the road. But it does feel a lot like a country field community, doesn't it?
Well, it does because there's the little gaps from Mitcham to Park Orchards, and there's just all the bushes, I guess, that sort of cut you off from everywhere else. So yeah, I guess it is a little isolated because then pushes onto Warrandyte and the Yarra River and all these real bushy areas just past that as well.
Any footy highlights for you in general?
Well, I've definitely got a couple. I remember the greatest time was when in under 12s, there was a great team that we had, and we were in the semi-final versing a team which were undefeated for 3 years straight. And we knew when we were going into that game, we were honestly doubting ourselves. But we were all nervous, I should say that. And when we got onto the field, we just tried our hardest to get the ball into the 50, push forward, and we scored a couple of goals actually on them. And we won in the semi-final against them. It was the greatest match. We only won by 4 points, but it was just so close the entire time. The weather was against us, and we were playing at their home ground. Like, I just remember looking towards the forward line as a backline player, and I could barely see anything because of the amount of hail that was actually dropping on us. One kid had to wear a jumper because it got too out of hand, and I remember when the final siren went, it was just so great to hear. And as under 12s, it was the greatest thing alive. And going to school the next day with everyone from the team, because we were such a small community, it was just so great to talk with all our mates who weren't in the team and talk about how good the win was with them. And as an AFL side, I would have to say it's the 3 in a row grand finals.
Yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned, I'm sure you play in the back line, what you just mentioned just a moment ago. Are you still playing the back line?
Yeah, I'm still playing the back line, but I'm always keen to switch around to midfield. I've even played forward a couple of times, but it's just trying to switch around, make everyone feel comfortable. If there's something that needs to be tweaked, then we can tweak that. And it's just all about improving everything, really. So if there's a time when I need to go forward line because someone's doing really well, or if someone needs to push up forward, or someone who's playing well needs to go back, then we can do that.
Which of the 3 major positions, backline, midfield, and the forward line, have you learnt more about in regarding to your football journey? And do you prefer either the backline, midfield, or the forward line?
As a young kid, I think everyone would say that they preferred forward just because they could try and get a couple goals in. So nothing feels better than kicking a goal. But as you mature, you start to learn the importance of midfield and how effective being a backline player is. And you'll learn these things. And personally, I believe that I'm a backline player now. I will try to be my best backline player that I could be, and I've got a lot of training ahead if I want to keep improving. Same with everyone else at Park Orchards.
Do you have any future ambitions in the sport of footy, as silly as that question sounds?
I would like to keep playing for as long as I can. Like, football's an escape, especially now in high school, and you've got all these worries like homework and stuff like that. It's good to go out on the oval with your mates and this good community behind you. Like, parents from other teams rock up to the games just to show their support, and everyone gets around each other. So it feels great to go do that. And that's what I want to keep doing for as long as I possibly can. And even then, just try play as long as I can, really.
what would be your advice to people that should get involved in footy, especially heading down to Germany Reserve?
Honestly, I reckon go for it because it's just great fun to be around and everyone's there. Everyone's having a great time. There's so much banter between teams and it's a good community to be a part of. You can always look back when you're sort of like excited to go to training. You know what you're about to see. You're about to see a lot of people having fun. And I reckon for anyone who's contemplating whether or not they should play football with their mates or not, I reckon just go for it because it's a great experience to have and you'll really remember it for the rest of your life.
We'll finish up with a couple of light-hearted questions about your teammates. But before I do that, now when I had Ava on the show last year, and I'm going to ask you this same question this year. Now, I know with Germany Reserve, there's a big, big hill from the change room or the club rooms all the way down to the ground. I guess, do you use that an advantage in regarding to when you play your opponents at Germany Reserve, especially, that huge race going from the club rooms down to the field?
Honestly, when it's wet conditions, I see so much people almost slip down the hill. So as players ourselves, we're really used to it. And it's honestly good because it sort of shakes them off sometimes. I've once seen a full coach full on slide down and our coaches are used to it. So we know what to expect. And I feel going down that hill pretty quickly, I feel like it can almost rev you up with all your mates around you. And I think it's great. It's honestly a great advantage. That's a good question, actually.
Has there been any really good stacks on going down that hill to the field by anyone?
There's been anyone. I could name so many, but I remember one time at a seniors game we were watching, and a guy he slipped down the hill in wet conditions, and I think he hurt himself pretty badly. But it was all in good spirit. We saw him the next day, had a laugh about it, but. It's a very slippery hill. I would honestly recommend wearing studs if you're ever near it.
That's a true point. That's a true point. And the other question is, I can't remember. I think it might be the scoreboard end. Now, obviously, it dips again down the hill. Have you ever lost a footy or tried to attempt to lose a footy when kicking for goal down the scoreboard end?
Well, on the scoreboard end, there's actually a gate to a primary school around there. So, yeah, so you can imagine the amount of people who try their hardest to boot the ball up above the net as well behind the goals. And you can just see the amount of people who, they mark the ball inside forward square, and they're just about to absolutely pummel the thing across into the car park of the primary school. It's happened a lot.
That's good. Sorry, I had to ask that question. No,
that's all good.
So go back to about your teammates. So who had the most embarrassing moment on the field this past season, and what was it?
There's been a couple. I can only think of set shots, but for their sake, I won't say their name. But one of my mates had a set shot about 20 meters out, no wind, no nothing. It was the greatest ground you could have played on at an away game. And I don't know how, but he managed to chip his foot on the ground and spray the football out in the full play on. We obviously got around him. We obviously had a joke about it on the spot. But no, he was a little bit shy about it. We joked about it with him after too.
Who's the comedian, the best singer, and internet TikTok/BeReal?
Well, our boys are a little shy with doing a couple internet dances, but it's a hard question. I could say good mate named Mitch. He's a funny guy. He's good with everyone in the team. He's just every time you're with him, you can have a joke with him because he's not shy to have a laugh with you or anything like that. He's just a great guy to be around.
Do you have a pre-game superstition or ritual?
Pre-game, no. A couple of my mates have that pre-workout drink that they think does good for them because it gives them energy or something like that. That's one of my mates' pre-game rituals.
Okay.
Usually we all like to just have a stretch. We get there an hour or so, even a bit earlier before the game, jog a couple laps, get our legs working so we're really energetic when the game starts from the first quarter. Any
pump-up songs?
Well, I know a couple people love listening to Thunderstruck straight before the game, There's one team in our club which actually play Thunderstruck before every game, and their coach gives them the greatest rev up I've ever seen. it's so funny to like just watch it, and it actually does rev you up a lot. And I reckon, yeah, that side, listening to Thunderstruck before the game is honestly the best thing I've ever seen. They go out wanting to kill the other team. It's just great.
I have to ask now, you just mentioned that. How did the results go for them after getting revved up? Have they won more games than they've lost?
They got to a semi-final,
Oh,
final, I believe. So I think maybe ACDC worked for them. I could honestly recommend it to a couple more clubs. Get the coach to really give them a rev up, hit them with their personal sort of feeling of do they really want this type
yes.
thing. Get them really going. I reckon that could work for a couple more teams.
And we'll finish with this last two. Any good nicknames in the team we should know about?
Oh, there's a couple. I remember an old coach. He loved the sound of having a nickname for everyone. One of my mates was called Rat, which I thought was pretty funny. His name's George. I don't know where he got the nickname from, my coach, but he just thought the greatest thing that he could call him was Rat. He didn't look like a rat. He didn't look anything like one. He was a great man at me. But I don't know why, but Rat was just a good one that we all remember him by. It's stuck with him for about 3 years.
Oh, oh, that is the best. Any strange training sessions that you had to do this year?
Oh, I'd say definitely pre-season. Everyone was so out of sorts. It started about January, our pre-season, and just no one had touched the footy for a good 3-4 months. So I'd say in ways of strangeness, it would be how their skills were. And just watching everyone chip their kicks 5 meters short, booted too far, even sprayed off the side of their boot. That was one of the strange sessions we've had.
Finish with this last one. What have you learned from Ava and Jake, if I haven't already asked this question?
Definitely leadership, because we've all helped each other out throughout the year with just with doing things we've never done before. Like we presented a couple awards throughout the year to players at open nights, and I reckon public speaking, and we've learned a couple of things like that, and leadership and taking action for ourselves and how the club can benefit from it. It's been great, and it's been great help, not just from them, but from the whole club, honestly.
Jack, thank you so much for getting up some of your time to join us. And obviously, you've been a fantastic role model for your club in 2023. And I'm sure, and not just this year, but obviously throughout your football journey as well. And well-deserved accolades to receive the club captaincy with Jake and Ava as well. And hopefully we'll get a chance to have a chat with you again, and hopefully next year, and with hopefully a club captaincy, because you fully deserve it again next year in 2024.
Thanks, mate. It means a lot. Thanks for having me here. It was good fun today, actually. Thank you.
No worries. And that's Jack there, because joining us from the Park Orchards Junior Footy Club, and of course one of the 3 club captains, as we mentioned with Jake and Ava. There's more on the Smash Sports Show right after this. Don't go away here on the 10th year celebration.